The European Union announced retaliatory trade measures in response to the US hiking steel and aluminum tariffs to 25%. The EU's countermeasure will be implemented starting from April 1, 2025. This comes after the Donald Trump administration officially raised tariffs on all steel and aluminum imports to 25% from 15%. The EU's countermeasures are worth 28 billion US dollars in tariffs from the US side. Besides the steel and aluminum tariffs, these measures also include duties on industrial and agricultural products. This was announced by European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. The body manages trade and commercial conflicts on behalf of the 27 EU member countries. EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said, as the US are applying tariffs worth 28 billion US dollars, we are responding with countermeasures worth 28 billion US dollars. She added that the EU will always remain open to negotiation. We firmly believe that in a world fraught with geopolitical and economic uncertainties, it is not in our common interest to burden our economies with tariffs. Jobs are at stake, prices will go up in Europe and also in the US. Nobody needs that on both sides, neither in the European Union nor in the United States. Ursula also expressed regret at the move, saying, "We deeply regret this measure. Tariffs are taxes. They are bad for business and even worse for consumers. These tariffs are disrupting supply chains. They bring uncertainty for the economy." Earlier, Trump had reinstated from his first term a 25% tariff on steel and an elevated rate of 25% on aluminum, going up from 15%. Unlike the first term, though, no country has been exempted from these levies. Before I proceed, I encourage you to like the video and share your views on the topic in the comment section below. Your feedback is invaluable for us and a wider audience around the world. The EU is just retaliating against Trump's tariffs. These EU hikes will come in two stages. In the first, retaliatory tariffs were announced in response to Trump's first-term levies. The EU had suspended these hikes during President Joe Biden's term, and that suspension will be allowed to lapse in April this year. Also, in this stage are new tariffs targeting boats, bourbon, and motorcycles. The second stage will come after 2 weeks. Canada, which is the biggest foreign supplier of steel and aluminum to the US, will also slap retaliatory tariffs on 29.8 billion Canadian dollars worth of goods, including steel, computers, and sports equipments. Prime Minister-designate Mark Carney said he was ready to negotiate a renewed trade deal with Trump as long as there is respect for Canadian sovereignty. But what will be the impact of EU tariffs on the United States? Who will suffer due to the EU tariffs on the US? Economists have warned that the US tariffs and those introduced in response by other countries could put prices up for American consumers. That's because the tax is paid by the domestic company importing the goods, which may choose to pass the cost to customers or to reduce imports, meaning fewer products are available. The EU's retaliatory measures include tariffs on aluminum products, home appliances, house tools, plastics and wood, leather goods, textiles, and steel products. Agricultural products such as eggs, beef, nuts, poultry, seafood, sugar, and vegetables will also be impacted. Steel companies in Europe are bracing for losses. Henrik Adam, president of the European Steel Association, said that the tariffs will further worsen the situation of the European steel industry and the dire market environment. According to the Adam, the EU could lose up to 3.7 million tons of steel exports that cannot be compensated by other markets. Notably, the US is the second biggest export market for EU steel producers, representing 16% of the total EU steel exports. The EU estimates that annual trade volume between both sides stand at about 1.5 trillion US dollars, representing around 30% of global trade. Trump's tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and China will also make things costly for Americans, and counter tariffs will affect various industries exporting products to these countries. Mainly 6 things could get more expensive for Americans under Trump's tariffs: cars, beer, whiskey, and tequila, houses, maple syrup, fuel prices, and avocados, as these things come from Canada and Mexico. Trump had said he wants to boost US steel and aluminum production in the longer run. However, that in the immediate term, the taxes on imports of the metals will raise prices for US consumers and dent economic growth. Major packaged food makers, including Quaker Oats and Folgers Coffee, requested Trump for targeted exemptions from tariffs on imports such as cocoa and fruit. PepsiCo, Conagra, and J.M. Smucker also requested the president to exempt ingredients not available from U.S. sources. Coffee, oats, cocoa, spices, tropical fruit, and tin mill steel used for some food and household goods are among the imports listed as unavailable domestically. The import taxes are also expected to reduce demand for steel and aluminum that is not made in the US. The EU estimated that the latest US tariffs affect only about 5% of its total exports to the US. On the other hand, US President Donald Trump has pledged to impose more tariffs after his latest move to introduce import taxes on steel and aluminum entering the US prompted retaliation from the European Union and Canada. Trump said, of course, he would respond to the countermeasures, repeating his warning to reveal reciprocal tariffs next month on countries around the world. Whatever they charge us with, we are charging them, he said. The threat marked a further escalation of a trade war that has rattled financial markets amid concerns over the impact of the economies and consumers in many countries around the world, including the US. In an appearance at the White House with the Irish Prime Minister Taoiseach Michael Martin, Trump said he did not plan to back down from his trade fight, saying he was not happy with EU trade policies. He cited concerns about the legal penalties the EU has imposed on Apple and rules he claimed put US farm products and cars at a disadvantage. They are doing what they should be doing, perhaps for the European Union, but it does not create ill will, he said. Repeating his threat to hit European cars with tariffs, he added later, "We are going to win that financial battle." Earlier this month, Trump also raised levies on Chinese imports into the US to at least 20%. Trump has also threatened tariffs, which are taxes applied to a range of more specific items, including copper, lumber, and cars. Canada and European retaliated with their own tariffs on a range of US products, but other countries that are key US suppliers of metals, including the UK, Australia, Mexico, and Brazil, held off on any immediate retaliation. UK Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer said, "Like everybody else, I am disappointed to see global tariffs to steel and aluminum, but we will take a pragmatic approach. We are negotiating a deal that covers and includes tariffs if we succeed, but we will keep all options on the table." Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for new videos on important international topics.